Hello viewers and welcome to this video on Authentic English, and today we are going to discuss Act 1 Scene 1 of the famous play by William Shakespeare, The Tempest. Before we begin with the discussion of the Act 1 Scene 1, I would like you to subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so, because I'm going to post regular videos on literature that might help a lot in your studies. So let's begin with our summary and analysis of Act 1 Scene 1. The opening scene of The Tempest begins with a stormy situation. A ship is met with a dangerous storm. So, right at the beginning of the play, we see a storm and a ship. Okay? A ship in the middle of the ocean is met with a dangerous storm. Okay? So, let's just, get through it. The title of the play is The Tempest. And, of course, tempest means a storm. Something very turbulent and violent. And we can see that this play begins with a storm, and we'll only get to know later that the storm was created by Prospero, the rightful Duke of Milan. Okay, so this storm in a kind of way signifies how, the anger, the violence is going to kind of make him revenge what he has gone through. But we'll discuss more of that later, and in this video I'm just going to give you a general summary of Act 1 Scene 1. Now this ship, which is met with a stormy situation, has royal passengers like Alonso, the King of Naples, Sebastian, his brother, Antonio, the Duke of Milan, Ferdinand, the King's son, and Gonzalo, an honest old councillor. So these are the people who are on board this ship that is met with a storm created by Prospero. The bosun, the person in charge of the ship, asks the royalties to go below the deck while he tries to control the situation. The royalties are good at taking orders. So all these royal people are on the ship that is met with a storm, and the bosun, the person in charge of the ship, asks the royalties to go below the deck while he tries to control the ship in that storm. So the bosun, the person who is in charge of the ship, asks all these royal people to go below deck and not create a fuss on the top side, so that he is able to calmly control the ship. But these royal people are too proud of their rank, and they're not willing to listen to the orders. King Alonso wants to know where the master is, and when the bosun orders him to go below deck because he doesn't want the passengers to create a fuss, Gonzalo reminds him that he's talking to the king. Now what happens is that Alonso wants to know where the master of the ship is, but the bosun does not listen to him very much and asks him to go and wait below deck because he does not want the passengers to create a fuss. In these kind of situations, the royalties do not have any power of their own. It's only on the bosun and the other sailors to control the ship and to save the ship from sinking. The royalties cannot do anything in this situation, and so their power is kind of subverted. When the bosun does not even listen to the king, Gonzalo reminds him that he's talking to the king. So a class difference, which we are going to discuss in our analysis section, is highlighted. Okay, there is a distinction between the classes. These bosun and the other sailors belong to the lower class, while the king and other members of the ship are of the higher class. The bosun says that if the king is so powerful, can he stop the storm? Obviously no. So the royal party goes probably below deck to protect themselves. Now what happens is, the bosun says that if the king is so powerful, can he stop the storm? No, obviously not. The king cannot do anything. He can only pray for his life. So the royal party goes probably below deck to protect themselves. So the royal party has to obey the orders of the bosun. However, soon afterwards, the royal party comes to the top again and irritate the bosun. Now again what happens is that after some time, the royal party again comes to the top side and begin to create a fuss. Sebastian and Antonio curse him, and the bosun tries to save the ship in the storm. Now you can see that Sebastian, the brother of the King of Naples, and Antonio, the Duke of Milan, curse the bosun while he's trying to save the ship. So we can know that these people are not very good. This is what we can kind of conclude, that they are cursing and they are too proud of their rank while the bosun is trying to save the ship. Ultimately, it is announced by sailors that the ship is lost, and ultimately the sailors announce that the ship is lost in the storm, and all the royal members have to finally go below deck to pray for their lives. So this is what happens in Act 1 Scene 1 of The Tempest. Now if we have to analyze it, there are some points that we can note. Class differences are highlighted, as I told you earlier, that the king and the other royal members are too proud of their rank. There is a class distinction. But in situations like these, the royal members cannot do anything. It's only on the people of the lower class to save these people. So it's kind of highlighted that nature is more powerful than all the royal members. They do not have any control of nature, and their control only is limited to the control of people. So class differences are highlighted. There is a class conflict in the opening act. Then second thing that is very important to note is that the storm has been created by magic by Prospero. Prospero is the rightful Duke of Milan. He has created the storm through his magic. So Tempest, the title of the play, as I told you earlier, is Tempest, and it begins with a tempest. Okay, so it is kind of implied that since the tempest created by Prospero is able to subdue all these royal people, he is ultimately going to take over. So we can say that it gives a kind of foreshadowing into the future of the play. Rebellion on the ship highlights the conflicts in England during the time James I ruled during the time. So this play was written sometime in 1610 or 1611, and the ruler that time was James I, who came after Elizabeth died. So there had been conspiracies against the king, and some critics may say that this rebellion that took place on the ship kind of highlights that the king is not powerful. It kind of highlight the rebellion against King James I. The rebellions that took place against James I included the gunpowder plot, in which he was tried to kill, in which he was tried to get murdered, but it failed. So you can say in a certain sense that these rebellion on the ship highlight the conflicts in England during the time, although this is not very important. Now the third point is lot of spectacle and stage action. You can see that the play begins with a stormy situation. There is a ship, so there is a lot of spectacle. Okay, there is a lot of element of a lot of stage action. Okay, so there are a lot of props, and Shakespeare is trying to get as much on the stage as possible. This is a very scenic kind of a scene, so there is a lot of spectacle and stage action. And then the last point, the storm is actually created magically by Prospero. He has divine powers. This is what we don't get to know in this scene. This is what we are going to get to know in the scene that comes next. But actually this is what is the truth, that the storm has been created by Prospero, who is the rightful Duke of Milan. So this was the summary and analysis of Act 1 Scene 1. I hope this helps. Thanks a lot.